This is Jay, and I thought I'd pull back the curtain a bit since it is a new year. We've made 106 videos this past year, and we have over 600 subscribers. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who has liked, who has subscribed, who's commented and interacted with us on YouTube and on Facebook. It's been a great journey. Today I made a short lore video for my Cawdor Outcast Gang that's part Final Zone 2 and part Liquid Television. I'll go over the rules for the gang, why I bought the weapons and wargear for the models that I did, and how they performed in two different campaigns, this time on JD in the Sump Sea. What am I looking at here? Asked the Orlok Road Captain Duke Tuffnow. I believe those are Cawdor bone pickers grave robbing, said Thad Dustbow, Duke's road sergeant. They're grave robbing at my father Lucius's tomb, and I will not have it. Get my contact in House Deloc. Right away. As Duke walks down the alley, a shadowy figure emerges. The Cawdor Word Keeper Enoch is why you have called for me. Yes, you do have spies everywhere. I have my sources. Do you have a way I can deal with Enoch? I have heard that the Word Keeper Enoch is in fact a rogue psyker. Interesting. House Cawdor usually doesn't stand for psykers in their ranks. I wonder if the Thane knows. 2 days later, Enoch was kicked out of House Cawdor. Seeing he no longer had a home within the hive, he made his way to the Great Ash Gate and out into the wastes. Having the gift of telepathy is a blessing from the God Emperor, Enoch often told himself. This new beginning would either confirm or disprove that belief. Enoch then wandered the ash wastes for what seemed like an eternity, and eventually he found a small settlement. Approaching the largest tent, a tall man emerged, and Enoch went to work. Your pain runs deep, said Enoch, employing his telepathy carefully yet pointedly. What do you know of my pain? Let us explore it together. Thus began Enoch's new quest, to assemble a warband and a fleet of vehicles to conquer the wastes. The character, story-wise, is built through his troubled times as a rogue psyker hiding within House Cawdor, but I also based him on Sybok from Star Trek V. Spoiler alert for Star Trek V. If you haven't seen the movie, stop watching now. Go watch it, and then come back. In Star Trek V, Sybok is a Vulcan who has left his fellow Vulcans' teachings. He has decided to embrace his feelings and also to use his telepathic Vulcan powers to manipulate people, basically building a cult that will follow him without question. Enoch has decided to do exactly as Sybok does once he is kicked out of House Cawdor and is left to roam the wastes. Now that I've established his backstory, both before he became an outcast, what led him to become an outcast, and now where he is in his life and what drives him as an outcast, I have to build the character within the Necromunda rules. So in the Book of the Outcast, when you create a leader, you can either pick an existing profile and use that, or you can pick one of 4 leader profiles listed in the book. I had an idea for Enoch to be a psyker, so I picked the profile with the best willpower. This profile has a willpower of 4+, but also comes with 4 attacks, strength 4, and weapon skill 2+. With weapon skill, strength, and attacks being so good, I knew he had to be equipped for close combat, and that meant I was going to use my favorite non-gang specific weapon, the Greatsword. Cawdor leaders get to use the Greatsword, so I was able to buy Enoch a Greatsword at gang creation, and not have to go to the trading post later on to get it. I looked through the telepathy powers because I have already established him as being a telepath, and I chose Terrify because of how good it can be against almost any model. With a successful willpower check, I can force an opponent within 18 inches to take a cool check at -3. If they fail, they break. Very effective. I decided to give him mesh armor and a gutter forged cloak for flavor, but also because it would potentially help with weather effects in the campaigns I'd be fielding this gang in. Next up, Ezekiel Magborg. He's an outcast champion with a long rifle, photo goggles, and monocyte, and the marksman's skill. I built this guy specifically to be long-range sniper who could see through smoke or other weather conditions, and still be able to hit on a 2+ most of the time. I built him with a specific vehicle build in mind for him to ride in, which we'll get to later. James the Great is my second Outcast champion. I really wanted to use the new mutant archetypes for Outcasts, but I had such a good story for Enoch I wasn't prepared to scrap it and go full mutants, so I settled for just one mutant in the gang. I based him off an old Chaos Blood Bowl model. I cut off the left hand and replaced it with the Fiend of Slaanesh Claw. I gave him the mutation Massive Claws. Now the mutation is called Claws, but it doesn't increase the model's attacks at all. But I still wanted a model with 2 big claws, so it's maybe not an optimal build, but it is flavorful, and I almost always go for flavorful over optimal. I also gave him mesh armor and bomb rats. I figured maybe he would have some pet rats, and since he couldn't hold a gun, he would use the rats as a sort of proxy ranged weapon. I gave him 2 types of grenades for the rats, blasting charges and incendiary charges. We all know blaze weapons are stupid good, and the blasting charge has knockback, which could be used to knock someone off of a moving vehicle. So kind of a weirdo, but really that's why you build Outcast gangs, because they're all weirdos who don't fit in anywhere else, and it's a great modeling and hobby opportunity to figure out what they're going to be, what they're going to look like, and how they're going to act. Okay, on to the first hive scum of the gang. This is Amos Musin. He was dubbed by D as Old Man River in one of our games. He has an axe and a reclaimed autogun. He has no armor because I almost never give regular gangers armor at gang creation, so I can save credits for other things, and if they ever have to go to the dock, then it usually is a better option to just recruit a new ganger than to pay for the dock. Alright, next up is Ezra Chinkle. He has only a stub gun. He, like Amos, are very inexpensive, and it helps me mentally when I'm playing a game to not worry so much about them. I can treat them as disposable because replacing a dead fighter that only costs 35 credits is really not hard to do in-game or out-of-game. I was very curious to see if my hive scummer with just a stub gun would actually accomplish anything in the campaign. Moving on to the last hive scum on foot, this is Hannah Antholt. She has a reclaimed auto pistol and a flail. She's the most expensive scum on foot, but she also has a rapid fire weapon and a close combat weapon that for only 55 credits. The close combat weapon actually has a +1 to hit and a +1 strength and entangle, so not too shabby for her cost. So the next ganger is Samuel Urkish. He is the first ganger that is mounted. I bought him a Waster dirt bike which increases his movement to 8 inches and gives him the mounted condition. I bought him a Cawdor weapon, the polearm/reclaimed autogun. It acts as a polearm in close combat, giving him reach to do drive-by attacks without the enemies fighting back, and it also gives him a 24-inch ranged weapon. With the high movement value, both ranged and versatile close combat weapon, I figured he should be fairly effective on the battlefield. I built both a mounted version of the model and an on-foot version of the model. I knew in the campaigns I would be playing this gang in that they would need to be on foot at some point. Next up is Delilah Horthfels. She has just a flail and a bike. Again, being mounted grants a big mobility advantage. It allows you to set up charges easier than other models, and so I gave her a nice close combat weapon to help when she does charge in. Again, she has no armor and she has no ranged weapons. My third biker is Elijah Helwick. He also has a Cawdor polearm reclaimed autogun, waster dirt bike, and nothing else. Just a note on the naming conventions for this gang, since my leader's name was Enoch, and that is an Old Testament name, I figured all of the other gangers would have Old Testament names for their first names, and then I found an online imperial name generator and used that to generate the last names. Liv Bodvin is a hanger-on Ash Waste mechanic. This is a custom hanger-on that I created for the Ash Waste weekend campaign, which I also used in my Ash Waste campaign at the store in October. Both campaigns allowed gangs to have hangers-on at creation. She's armed with a flak armor and a club, which is modeled as a wrench. The arm is from the Adeline Jackals box set. She also has a stub gun. Her special rule allows her to do several things. She can change a vehicle from counting as having wheels to tracks, or vice versa, between games. She can also buy vehicle Wargear and upgrades for 25% off, and one vehicle that is ramshackle that is negotiating repairs will ignore the ramshackle rule. The next model is the first of 3 vehicles. When you purchase a vehicle, you also need to purchase a crew member to drive the vehicle. Being an Outcast gang, I only really have the option for Scum Racer crew. You must have 3 Ganger X models for each champion in an Outcast gang. The drawback for an Outcast gang is that they don't have the Ganger X rule, so they don't count towards allowing you additional champions. This Scum Racer's name is Abel Raghelm, and he drives the light vehicle, the Smoky Crow's Nest. I named it the Crow's Nest because the transport bed of the vehicle is elevated, and I called it Smoky because of the smoke launchers. This is the vehicle Ezekiel Magborg rides in. Being elevated gives him better line of sight. The smoke launchers can obscure him from being seen so people can't target him or his vehicle without special equipment like photo goggles. He has photo goggles, allowing him to see straight through that smoke, and also allowing him 9 additional inches in sight when the visibility rules are in effect. The next vehicle is crewed by Noah Blistersump, and its name is the Tractor. It is a light vehicle with tracks, allowing it to ignore difficult terrain, but it also gives it a -1 movement. It has a transport bed and nitro burners, which give it a +1 movement, therefore negating the -1 from being tracked. This vehicle can carry 2 models in the back and 1 in the elevated front transport bed area. This is the vehicle that was built for Enoch to ride in specifically. The third and final vehicle in my gang is crewed by Jacob Slughold and is another light vehicle, this time called the Pin Cushion. It has a transport bed which can hold both James the Great and 1 other ganger. It has the vehicle upgrades body spikes and wheel scythes. The body spikes really make the vehicle stand out visually and was something I really just wanted to try out. I knew they probably wouldn't contribute too much in games. If a model ends up on the spikes, they take damage, so I would have to knock someone back using the knockback rule onto the spikes, or hurl them using the hurl skill. The wheel scythes I knew from experience were much more useful. You just drive near another model, and then they can cut up that other model. It's like a drive-by attack. And finally, these are the last 5 models I built for this gang. They aren't in the gang list proper. They are here for several reasons. I can field these guys when I use the Outcast Tactics card, A Few Friends. This card allows you to deploy D3+2 additional Hive Scum during deployment. The other reason I built them is because during downtime I would have 250 credits to purchase something, and these 5 guys are exactly 250 credits if I equip them with the weapons they're carrying. I also built these guys to replace other fighters who might die during the campaign. And the final reason is Cawdor related. Whenever you play a Cawdor player, they can recruit and bring more gangers than is allowed in the scenario because of specific rules that they have. This is a nod to that Cawdor specific trait. So, how did I do in the 2 campaigns that I played this gang in? Well, the first campaign was mostly traditional Ash Waste campaign, which had 3 out of the 5 games being Rolling Roads. I won most of the triumphs in that campaign and won 3 out of the 5 games. The campaign consisted of only 3 players most weeks and 4 players in only 1 week. In the second campaign, I won 2 out of 6 games. This second campaign was against a much larger selection of opponents. There were 6 games and about 20 people in the campaign. It was also played on much larger boards. Most of the boards were 6x4 or slightly larger. The campaign was also an Outlander campaign where we had to build settlements and only set in the Ash Waste environment. It wasn't really an Ash Waste campaign where you fight over roads and trade routes. Overall, I think this gang has some really nice things going for it. It's very fast, having 3 bikes and 3 light vehicles. They never have to worry about being too slow. There is a lack of heavy firepower, which I felt in a game against the Van Saar with an Arachnorig, and also against the Cawdor Gang with a heavy vehicle. The another downside to this gang is the light vehicles are light vehicles. They die very easily to almost anything. An autogun could easily kill a light vehicle. So they are a fairly fragile gang, also having not much in the way of armor to begin the campaign with. But they were a lot of fun to play and had some unusual things that you could do with them, with bomb rats, psychic powers, things like that. Sometimes when you build gangs for Necromunda, you should build them because you have a crazy idea based around fluff. And sometimes you build them around a crazy idea based around rules. However you build your Necromunda gangs though, you should always think about how much you are going to enjoy playing with them and how much your opponents will enjoy playing against them. Well, that's all I have this time. Thanks for watching, and as always, please like and subscribe.